everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the channel. Well, Vivek Ramaswamy just shocked the world and he won. He was victorious. Congratulations to Vivek Ramaswamy for winning the GOP primary. He is on his way to become the next governor in Ohio, and he just came out to address the nation and to actually talk about everything going on. So we're rooting for Vivek Ramaswamy. Maybe you like him, maybe you don't. I think he's gonna do a fantastic job as governor. So we're gonna dive in, but before we do, we're gonna read scripture and pray because God comes first, amen? Comment the word amen in the comment section if you believe that God comes first in your life. And without faith, it is impossible to please God because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Amen. That's from Hebrews 11:6. And let's pray that all of us continue to seek God, even in the most difficult moments in our life. And my brothers and sisters, congratulations to everyone who has begun investing in the stock market under President Trump. The stock market has been absolutely soaring under the leadership of Donald Trump. We now have a totally free offer linked below. Or if you're watching this on your TV, you can take out your phone and scan this QR code. And I also created a free investing tutorial for you to watch as well. And don't worry, you don't need a lot of money to get started. You could literally get started with just a couple bucks. All right, my friends, so let's tune in to Vivek Ramaswamy. This is his victory speech.
Well, thank you guys. It is an honor and I am proud to officially say that today it is our pleasure to become the Republican nominee for the governor of Ohio. So thank you guys for getting us to this point. Now, the real destination is in November, but I do want to take a moment to thank the people who got us to where we are, including the folks in this room, who have day in and day out worked the phones, who have knocked doors, who have put up signs, who have shown up with us in all of the 88 counties. I want to say thank you to our grassroots volunteers who made this possible. I want to say thank you to our U.S. President, President Trump, for his endorsement in this campaign since day one. I want to thank the current governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, for his endorsement as well. I want to thank our current Senate President, Ron McCauley, for accepting my invitation to be the next lieutenant governor. You're going to do a great job, Rob. And Denise, thank you for, we had some conversations at the very end. I remember around my kitchen table with Rob, and you and he were talking, and there was no decision for Rob without making sure that it was right for the family. So thank you, Denise, as well, for entrusting us with this journey. I believe we have a historic opportunity to lead Ohio, not just to be the best state in the Midwest, because we are already the best in the Midwest. We have a historic opportunity to lead Ohio to be the top state in the country, to raise a young family, to give our kids a world-class education, and to be the state where we revive this quaint idea that we call the American dream. And tonight, that is very personal to me. On any other country on planet Earth, I would not be standing here tonight. My parents came halfway around the world to Cincinnati, Ohio, half a century ago, with nothing to their name. I went to public schools through 8th grade because private schools were not on the table for us. I went to St. X for high school. My dad worked for a 5-figure salary for most of his career at the GE plant right off I-75 in Evendale. My mom worked at the VA, taking care of nursing home patients as well. And now, after having founded, thankfully, successful businesses, in a position to call myself the Republican nominee for governor in the very state where I was born and raised. That is the American dream that makes American exceptionalism possible. I know that American dream exists because I have lived it in this state, because of the opportunities that the state of Ohio gave to me and to my family. And my faith teaches me that we have a moral duty to use those blessings, to use those gifts that we have been given, to leave this state and this country better than we found it. And with your help, when we win this November, that is exactly what we are about to do for our state, not just making Ohio great again, but to make Ohio greater than we have ever been. That's what we're about to do together. So thank you tonight for kicking off the next chapter of this journey. I do believe that this marks, without exception, the single most consequential election for governor that our state has ever seen in our history. There has never been a greater contrast between two candidates. Perhaps the most important contrast between myself and my opponent, Amy Acton, is our vision and our attitude towards success. I believe that success is something that we ought to celebrate as a people, something that we ought to celebrate as a state, our educational success, your family's economic success, your individual success, America's civic success. I believe in celebrating success. And the person I'm running against in this race believes in villainizing success. She will remind you every day that I'm a billionaire, and I will remind you that I was not born a billionaire, I was not born a millionaire, I was not born in anything heir, I was born an heir to nothing, okay? But my story is possible in this great country and in our great state because we embrace free enterprise, because we embrace liberty, because we embrace the idea of exceptionalism and the pursuit of excellence. That is who we are. And Thomas Jefferson famously said, he signed the Declaration of Independence 250 years ago. Shortly after, he said, "The government you elect is the government you deserve." It's almost as though he was talking about 2026, our year right here in this election for governor of Ohio. We could wake up to one of two Ohios later this year. We can wake up to an Ohio where we're bringing down your electric bills because we're producing more energy in Ohio. We can wake up to an Ohio where your property taxes are coming down because it's your land and not the government's. We can wake up to an Ohio where we are on a path to putting our state on our way to a zero income tax state because it is your money, not the government's. And frankly, we can compete with states like Texas and Florida and Tennessee. We can wake up to an Ohio where our children are doing better in math and reading and writing, being taught how to actually perform well in our schools rather than indoctrinated with victimhood psychology. One where housing prices are going down because we're cutting the red tape to build more homes in our state, to make that American dream and home ownership more affordable to the next generation. And we can wake up to an Ohio where we are more united, because it is easier to connect with our fellow neighbors and to be united in a rising economic tide. That is one Ohio where we can wake up to in November, and that is where I will lead this state if you elect me this November. The other, I'll take applause for that. Thank you. That's where we're headed. But there's a different version of how this could go if my opponent comes anywhere near the levers of power. Could be in Ohio where businesses are once again fleeing our state in droves, where you see a $21 billion plus income tax hike coming to you directly in 2027, one where our property taxes continue to go up, one where our public schools remain beholden to the bureaucracy that is choking the success of our students, and one where we celebrate victimhood instead of success. That's what the other Ohio looks like. I'm proudly the most pro-free enterprise, pro-liberty, conservative, and pro-capitalist governor this state will have ever seen, running against, unfortunately, what would be the first socialist governor than we have ever seen. And I want to say a word about the contrast here, because this is really important. The traditional Republican criticism of Amy Acton, and I'm sympathetic to this, is that she advanced and advocated for the lockdowns, which have not aged well, lockdowns of our public schools, where kids in Cincinnati public schools were shut out of their schools for 2 years, while my alma mater of St. X was closed for 5 days. Those kids in those public schools will never get those 2 years of their education back. That's unforgivable. One where businesses were shuttered, and we actually chased businesses and entrepreneurs to states like Florida or Texas, where they could thrive rather than in Ohio. That's the traditional Republican critique of Amy Acton, and I agree with it, because those were poor policy choices for her to advance and to advocate for. But I think the deeper criticism, and I think this is really important to understand, is it's not going to be a pandemic the next time around. It's going to be different, tough decisions that we need to make as a state. We don't know what those are going to be. It's part of electing a leader is you're not electing just a slate of policies. You're electing somebody who we believe as a people is actually fit to lead our state. And what disappoints me about Amy Acton, somebody who I will tell you, I was rooting for her success as an Ohioan and as an American. She was a Democrat, but Rob, you said it the day you accepted this nomination to be lieutenant governor, that you voted for her confirmation. You were rooting for her success. I was rooting for her success. I think I speak for everyone in this room. We were all rooting for the success of anyone who leads our state in a tough time. But what disappoints me is somebody who could not draw the distinction between older Ohioans who might have been at risk of death from COVID-19 versus younger second and third and fourth grade students who were not at risk of death from COVID-19, but who were shut out and are at risk of depression, anxiety, and learning loss as a consequence of those decisions. Someone who had no patience to distinguish between actually those who were naturally immune, who had been exposed to the virus and could be let back out from lockdowns versus somebody who had not. And the gall, the temerity to wear a white coat and signify to the public for hours on end that you were a scientific authority without actually drawing those basic distinctions that were actually guided by science reflects an utter laziness and abandonment of responsibility that our public deserves in our leaders. And when Rob and the other legislators told her that we had to take a more nuanced, science-driven approach, you want to know what she did? She quit. To me, that is the most damning indictment of somebody who wants to lead this state. I will never quit on Ohio. We will always do the work required to make the best decisions required to deliver you lower costs, bigger paychecks, better schools, to deliver you a revival of that American dream that I know exists, that American dream that I have lived in this state, that we want for your kids and for your families. We will stop at nothing to do the work, to make the hard decisions, not to run away from them, not to chase the front of a camera with a white coat, but to actually do the work, to understand how we're going to rebuild infrastructure to take Ohio to new heights, how we're going to wring out the waste, fraud, and abuse out of an abused Medicaid system, to put that money back in your pockets where it belongs, and to bring down health insurance premiums while we're at it, to make life more affordable in this state so when our kids graduate, if you work hard and you play by the rules, you get to have a good life and then dream for an even better life for your kids, that you're free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is my pledge to every person in this state who voted for me today and who will vote for us in November. Our pledge to you is that we will deliver you lower costs, bigger paychecks, and better schools. And my pledge to every person who does not vote for us this November is also lower costs, bigger paychecks, and better schools, and we will protect your right to complain about it at every step of the way. But what I will tell you is that I believe we're on the cusp of a new dawn for Ohio, one where we reconnect with our roots of ambition, the state that raised Neil Armstrong and John Glenn and the Wright brothers and Thomas Edison, the state that led the first industrial revolution, the state where Toledo led the world in glass production, the state where Akron led in rubber production, the state where Youngstown and Cleveland led in steel production, the state where Dayton led in computing, the state where my hometown of Cincinnati was known around the world as the Queen City, will once again be at the forefront of our country, the bleeding edge of our country from the center of our country. A state that patriots across this country actually flock to and flock back to, including so many of our kids and grandkids whom I have thought they were finding refuge in other states coming back to, not because we forced them to, but because this is the state in the United States, and dare I say, this is the state on planet Earth where the best opportunities are actually available to them. That is why I'm running to be your next governor. It is not for fame. It is not for fortune. Our family has been blessed beyond our wildest imagination, beyond what my parents or Apurva's parents could have imagined just a few decades ago. But I am in this, and I speak for Rob and myself here. We are in this because we believe that together, with the complementary skills that we bring to the table, we are the two people in this state who can work together as a team to lead Ohio back to our true potential, to our greatest heights, to put more money in your pocket, to bring down those costs, and to give our kids the world-class education that is the birthright of every Ohioan. And so we are asking you tonight, on the night that we have secured our primary victory, thank you for everybody who got us through this finish line, with a historic margin. The final numbers are coming in. We're going to see them tomorrow morning, but I think what they will show you is that the Republican Party coming out of a primary for governor has never been more united than we are tonight. With that energy behind us, we now go to the next destination, the election in November, where we're going to ask every one of you to do your part, to show up. It might be a rainy night or by then a snowy night. Might be a night where, things are unplanned, things happen. You never know. We're going to ask you to do your part and still show up. Not just once. Not just to vote once, but what I say is the equivalent of voting 10 times. That means you bring 9 other people out with you who otherwise would not have shown up to vote in an election. And don't just make it another Republican. Talk to your neighbors and your friends, and we do have friends. If we're Republicans, we have plenty of friends who are not yet Republicans, okay, who may vote with us this November, who are independents, libertarians, orphaned Reagan Democrats, or politically homeless for that matter. I don't care what you call yourself. If you care about giving your kids and your family the same shot at the American dream that this state and this country gave to me and to my family, if you care about giving our kids that world-class education, then honest to God, we will work with you to lead our state to greater heights than we have ever seen. Because we are not a state in decline, we are not a region in decline, we are not a nation in decline. We are a state and a nation still in our ascent. And by the time we're done, maybe even by the end of next year, it will be Ohio that sets the national standard that Texas and Tennessee and Florida look up to rather than the other way around. Once we work together and deliver it this November, we're going to enter an age that makes Ohio the state that the other 49 states actually aspire to. We ask for your help. You all do your part. I promise you, Rob and his family, my family and I, we will do ours to make sure that Ohio's best days and America's best days are actually still ahead of us. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families, and let's win this thing in November. Thank you.
So you guys got to remember that Vivek and Donald Trump are actually really close allies, and Vivek was really the only candidate running against Trump who wasn't talking trash on Trump, and he was actually supporting Trump the whole way. And I think Vivek Ramaswamy is actually really happy with the way our country is going right now and how well our economy is booming. And even Donald Trump has a message for us all. Let's tune in.
You better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before. Rising market will do. Oh, it's going to get a lot higher.
How amazing is that, my friends? The stock market is soaring under President Trump. If you want to learn how to begin investing, we have a totally free offer right now. You can click the link below, or if you're watching this on your TV, you can take out your phone and scan that QR code. Just download the app. It's totally free to get started. It's never too late, and who knows, maybe you can even learn so you can help your children or your grandchildren as well. Personally, I started investing, and now my investments are up over $60,000. One of you guys even messaged me saying that you're up over $13,000. I believe this is the best time to start investing while Trump is president because he's the best leader and the stock market has been hitting record numbers under his leadership. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take it as your sign. It's totally free and I break it down easy for you. I even have a free tutorial that I created just for you. It's all in the description box or pinned in the comments. All right, so President Trump just came out to address the nation. Let's tune in.
I thought we'd be down maybe 20%, and we're up. The stock market's higher now than when we started this war. And I thought oil prices would go to $200, $250. It's at $100 now. And I think you're surprised, and I'm surprised. But even if it went to 200, it would have been worth it. I understand that. We had just set a record.
How amazing is that, my friends? The stock market is soaring under President Trump. If you want to learn how to begin investing, we have a totally free offer right now. You can click the link below, or if you're watching this on your TV, you can take out your phone and scan that QR code. Just download the app. It's totally free to get started. It's never too late, and who knows, maybe you can even learn so you can help your children or your grandchildren as well. Personally, I started investing, and now my investments are up over $60,000. One of you guys even messaged me saying that you're up over $13,000. I believe this is the best time to start investing while Trump is president because he's the best leader and the stock market has been hitting record numbers under his leadership. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take it as your sign. It's totally free and I break it down easy for you. I even have a free tutorial that I created just for you. It's all in the description box or pinned in the comments. All right, guys, now here's Vivek Ramaswamy calling out the alleged fraud going on in Minnesota. So let's tune in. I mean, it's alleged, right? I guess so. Let's listen in.
All right, here now with more, Ohio Republican gubernatorial candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, look, you've talked about the waste, fraud, abuse. We saw Doge.
That's true.
Your involvement there. I mean, it is amazing what you're able to come up with in short, just a couple of weeks, really. But it's just this never-ending sieve of fleecing of the American taxpayers, and I just think they're at a breaking point at this point. The numbers are so big, and it's so flagrant in our face.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the situation in Minnesota sounds pretty bad based on the facts, but let's just take a step back, Jason. You want to get to the root cause of the problem? It is the vast scope of the overgrown federal welfare state itself. That's the actual problem. The reality is, even if you look at since the pandemic, what are the numbers? $1.7 trillion in federal transfer payments before the pandemic. That was already way too high, unjustifiably high. But $1.7 trillion before the pandemic, it's almost $5 trillion a year today. That's unjustified. And when you have the government overtaxing people across the board and then reallocating that money through a complicated scheme to a smaller number of individuals, it is ripe for abuse. And that means the biggest money laundering operation of all is actually the size and scope of that federal welfare state itself. The answer is, you know what? Put money back in the pockets of American citizens through lower taxation. Let individuals actually decide how to spend their money rather than the government doing it for them. That's the answer. Now, Democrats created this problem ever since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, the biggest misnomer in U.S. policy history. That dates back 60 years. But now it's up to Republicans to fix it. And if we fail to tame that federal welfare state, we're in the long run complicit for the problem as well. And that's going to be much more important in the long run, I'm just being honest here, than playing whack-a-mole one at a time every time a viral video pops up. That's good. I appreciate the efforts of those who are doing it. But the real answer has to be constraining and taming the scope of the federal welfare state itself. We got to man up and do it. And if we don't, we're just going to see this happen over and over and over again. And I'll tell you, I'm going to do my part in Ohio in leading our state to be zero income tax, put that money back in the pockets of citizens where it belongs.
Yeah, there's actually another guy. He's running for California governor right now. His name is Sheriff Bianco. He wants to also eliminate income tax in California. Take a listen.
Proposing eliminating income tax, is that right? And how are you going to do that with a state that's already running an $18 billion deficit with an income tax in place?
Yeah, it's super, super easy. And this is the thing. Everybody wants to know, how are you going to do it? And then so everybody's so pessimistic because they think that government should be doing it if it was that easy. But the problem is they don't want to do it. So the reality of our government that we already know, our own auditor controller is telling us the waste, fraud, and abuse is we are the worst in the possible country. They don't know where $25 billion worth of homeless money went. They can't account for $18 billion of COVID money. They can't account for $20 billion in each area of our state. How do you miss billions? I mean, if they said $100,000 was missing and we don't know, that's okay. But how about billions? Where is that coming from? So that's number one. The waste, the fraud, and the abuse gets stopped. And it's easy because I'm the governor. I control the budget. It's not as hard as you're going to think. But here's the key. California is the biggest oil user in the country, and it rightfully so. We're the biggest populated. We have the most planes, trains, automobiles, all of that good stuff. So we import 80% of our oil that we buy from other countries. If we were oil independent in our state, which we have more oil than any other state, that's a little unknown fact that anybody else doesn't, most people don't know. Alaska has more, but we're second to Alaska. And if we were oil independent in our state, that would completely fund state government. So it truly shows you that the environmental activists that really run our state, this progressive agenda of getting rid of oil, going to renewables and all of that garbage is seriously destroying our state, and it's going to be very easy to get it back. And as much as I do like Florida, I'm telling you, we'll be taking all of your residents once I'm governor, because we will be not only the greatest in, we have the greatest beaches, we have the greatest weather. It's 70 degrees here today. Perfect, a little bit, it's even a little overcast. And we're now going to fix our government and have the best run government that we can possibly have in our country. So we're going to be attracting businesses and residents from all other states instead of what we have now, which is a mass exodus out of California.
It's another reason why I love what you're bringing. I love this idea of drilling.
Yeah, so that's obviously Chad Bianco, but Vivek Ramaswamy too here talking like, hey, look, you judge an executive by results.
Vivek, great to have you on the program. Let's just get your initial reaction to what you've seen unfold in the past hour. President Trump saying we have the framework for a deal on Greenland.
Look, to be honest, Will, I'm not surprised. And the answer is really the fact that would it have been a terrible idea for us to use military force in Greenland? Of course, and President Trump said we're not going to do it. But at the same time, he's made his intentions known. And I think one of the things we got to remember here is that at the end of the day, you judge an executive by his results. I'm a businessman. I'm not a politician. President Trump's cut from similar cloth in that way. He's not from traditional politics. Judge him by his results. And when you look at, for example, the deals he's delivered, say the Israel deal, along with even Hamas, people would have said that was impossible. And yet look at where we are today. If you had said before he was elected that the U.S. could ultimately take possession of Maduro in Venezuela without a single U.S. casualty, finishing the job before people woke up on a Saturday morning, people would have been skeptical. And yet that's exactly where we are. And so I do think there's a temptation for commentators and from everyone from the peanut gallery to analyze every little step of the sausage making. But at the end of the day, you judge an executive by his results. And when you look at foreign policy victories in this first year of the Trump presidency, I got to say he has exceeded every expectation that, frankly, people on either side of the aisle would have had. And I think I'm going to judge, and we all should judge, the outcome of what happens in Greenland by the result of the deal that hopefully we're about to see soon.
And Vivek, it's not just the peanut gallery. It's not just the critics who take a look at every step of the way of how the sausage is made, but it's every other politician. And right now, it appears, because he is perhaps a businessman, that he is running circles around the politicians, not just in America, but across the world, to get accomplished what he thinks is best for America. President Trump's critics, I believe, would say, even if we like the result, you're fraying relationships along the way that create allegiance to the United States. What would you say to those critics?
So look, what I would say is, and you articulated, Will, as you often do, the best possible version for the other side, which I think we should do more often. So thank you for that. When I say judge by the result, it's not just by the result of this specific deal on Greenland, but also the long-term results. That's how you judge an executive. That's how a president should be judged. And I think the question is the U.S. alliance with Europe actually stronger 4, 5, 6 years from now in deterring Chinese aggression in particular? That's the metric. And I think there are good reasons to believe that with some bumps in the road along the way, you are actually going to see a stronger U.S.-Europe alliance to deter the long-run threat to the West, particularly the U.S., and that comes from China. And the reality is, if you've gone years without having an honest conversation about burden sharing, right? It can be an uncomfortable conversation. Certain presidents cut from a more gentle cloth may not want to broach that subject. At some point in a relationship, you're going to have to be honest and have a real reckoning about burden sharing, about costs and benefits, not just in some sort of short-term transactional way, but in an honest way. And I think that honesty and candor in the long run can actually strengthen a relationship. So to those who say, oh, is this a question about the U.S. having doubts about its commitment to NATO? I look at it the other way around. Is honesty and candor and honesty and even sharing your actual intentions something that strengthens a relationship? And that's my hope. And in the long run, will even my expectation of what's going to happen here. And I think that's the way to look at it.
Wow, very well said by Vivek, guys. He's killing it. Now, President Trump just came out to address the nation. Let's listen in.
The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball, and I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable. The thing that people have to talk about, we're up almost to $7 trillion of investment coming into our country, and you'll see how it's going to turn out. our country's going to boom.
President Trump says our country and the market is going to boom. How amazing is that, my friends? If you want to learn how to begin investing, we have a totally free offer right now. You can click the link below, or if you're watching this on your TV, you can take out your phone and scan that QR code. Just download the app. It's totally free to get started. It's never too late, and who knows, maybe you can even learn so you can help your children or your grandchildren as well. Personally, I started investing, and now my investments are up over $60,000. One of you guys even messaged me saying that you're up over $13,000. I believe this is the best time to start investing while Trump is president because he's the best leader and the stock market has been hitting record numbers under his leadership. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take it as your sign. It's totally free and I break it down easy for you. I even have a free tutorial that I created just for you. It's all in the description box or pinned in the comments.